Heads roll and blood splatters as Tanjiro learns the art of the hunt from demon-slaying master Sakonji Urokodaki. It only took 2 episodes, but I'm already a big fan of Kimetsu no Yaiba. I have a feeling that this is going to be one of the more popular shows this season, and for good reason. It is a gorgeous, expertly animated show. I cannot gush about how good this show actually looks, from the character designs to the action scenes and the amazingly atmospheric environments. This show pretty much has it all, and this episode right here was a case for why I think it's just going to be so damned popular. In terms of the actual story, it's not really that groundbreaking, but the way that it's actually executed is done with just some amazing attention to detail. This episode marks the beginning of Tanjiro's journey as he desperately tries to find a way to transform his sister Nezuko back into a normal human, and at the end of the last episode, he was told by Giyu Tomioka to go and find a man by the name of Sakonji Urokodaki, and he does end up finding him in this episode, but before he can actually meet him and go through his formal training, he has his first encounter with a true demon. Another thing that I want to praise the series for is how it actually has the ability to shift tones. The first episode of the series was deathly serious as it was dealing with the main character seeing that his family had just been slaughtered by a demon, and they played it completely serious the entire time. This episode actually opens up with a joke, which is really funny and has great comedic timing, with Tanjiro meeting this guy on the side of the road and wanting to buy some straw in a bamboo basket from him. And he does so by forcibly giving him money to the point where he ends up hurting this guy's hand, and it's done in a really comedic fashion. Immediately following that, we get to see that Nezuko is desperately afraid of the sunlight, going into a cave and quite literally digging into the ground like a mole. It's funny because 1, she's a freaking demon child, but 2, when she's inside of the ground looking like a little mole peeking her head out of the ground, it's freaking adorable. So Tanjiro's plan is that he's actually made this reinforced basket that Nezuko is going to be able to sleep in and rest in, and he's going to cover it with a blanket so that she doesn't have to get hit by the sunlight, because apparently this is something that can actually kill demons. And as they're making their way through the countryside, they end up finding this temple where suddenly he smells blood again. And when they go inside, they get to see that a demon has killed these 2 people and is consuming their bodies, and that's when a big epic battle ensues. This demon just pounces on Tanjiro, getting ready to kill him, when suddenly we get to learn that Nezuko is actually pretty powerful herself, where she just kicks this demon's head off in the most extremely badass fashion. It was so shocking when it happened the first time that I had to rewind the scene just to see how it actually took place, and it was done with so much gusto and amazing animation. But apparently demons can actually fight independently or when they're separated from their body, with this head actually growing an extra pair of arms and going after Tanjiro, and the body actually fighting against Nezuko. And that's when this big action scene ensues, which is like something straight out of the Evil Dead. Army of Darkness, if you will. It's so over the top and insane, but boy, does it have some amazing fighting choreography attached to it. I especially love the scene where Tanjiro is actually defending against this guy's head that has grown arms, and his hair actually gets tangled up in his axe, so he just takes the axe and throws it against a tree with him getting completely stuck to it. When he finds the body that's attacking Nezuko, he tries to tackle it over the side of a gorge, but luckily Nezuko saves him at the very last second. He has to kill this demon, and it looks like he's going to take his knife to actually finish it off, when suddenly we are formally introduced to Sakonji Urokodaki, and immediately this guy just has a really simple but awesome design. He's got a tengu mask, which Tanjiro refers to as a goblin mask. I think that's just something that they actually put in the subtitles, because I think you can hear him saying tengu. You know, the classic folklore of the mythological demons in Japanese culture who are bird people with really long noses. And that's basically what this guy is completely emblematic of, and he tries to tell Tanjiro that if he wants to finish off this demon, that knife is frankly just not going to cut it. So he decides that he's going to pick up a rock and try to actually smash his head. But even while staring death in the face and looking at a creature which is desperately wanting to kill him and his sister, he manages to have a lot of empathy for this monster, and he actually hesitates in killing it until suddenly the sun arises and just completely vaporizes the fuck out of this thing. Basically, it's kind of like what you would see in a vampire movie when a vampire goes into the sunlight, just turning into a pile of red ash. This is where Sakonji realizes that this this character has a lot of glaring weaknesses. If he's going to move forward and he's going to try and prevent his sister from actually attacking people, he's going to have to learn not to hesitate, and he's going to have to get stronger. Another detail that's really cool about Sakonji is that he's actually voiced by legendary voice actor Hochu Otsuka, who's voiced a lot of my favorite characters in a lot of other different anime series, such as Chibity Crockett from Mobile Fighter G Gundam, as well as Jiraiya from the Naruto series. And he's always a welcome presence as he has such a commanding voice, and it seems perfect for this sort of like grizzled old Demon Slayer character. I also love the fact that they could have gotten really lazy with the fact that this character actually wears a mask and they wouldn't have to animate him actually talking all that much, but they actually go out of their way to actually like see his jaw moving when he's talking. Again, it's attention to detail like that which really puts this series above others, especially a lot of the other action anime series that I've been watching lately. So even though Sakonji is a little reluctant to bring Tanjiro into the fold and transform into a Demon Slayer, he decides to bring him along, and they go on this very long run where he has to carry his sister on his back to his cabin, and that's where he's going to have to go through his very first test. They're going to travel to the top of this mountain, where eventually Tanjiro is going to have to make his way back down to the cabin. The problem is, this is a giant mountain with very thin air, fog all over the place, and booby traps all over the damn place. We're talking everything from pitfalls to rope traps which throw rocks right into your face, and even giant logs that will completely crush you. Not to mention these giant bamboo sticks which will come up from out of the ground, slamming you and smacking you all over the place. This entire sequence of watching Tanjiro desperately run down the mountain and dodging all of these attacks at breakneck speed might be one of the greatest sequences that I've actually seen from the franchise thus far, and again is done with some amazingly great animation. Every single time Tanjiro gets hit by a booby trap, you feel it. It hurts. You can feel the weight of every single object that is trying to crush him. The moment when a bamboo stick comes up from out of the ground and just immediately catapults him directly back into the frickin' earth, man, it just hurts so damn bad. But luckily, he still manages to make his way through all of this using his expert sense of smell to get down to the mountain and eventually passing the test before the sun rises. Sakonji is going to take him under his wing and do everything in his power to transform him into a expert level Demon Slayer. So what's the rundown on this episode of Kimetsu no Yaiba? I was really impressed by the first episode of the series. I think I'm even more impressed by the second episode of the series. If they're able to keep up this quality the entire time, I already see this going down as a huge action anime classic. This episode made a great case for it and how just everything just looks so damned amazing. The environments, the backgrounds of this series might as well be their very own character as they lend so much atmosphere to every single scene. And I love that we're finally getting away from the aesthetic of these snowy mountains from the first episode, and now we're going into a completely different setting as we go into the mountains. Everything has this like beautiful fall look to it. Just the look of the leaves like looks really amazing. I am glad too that it is going to be being able to shift between tones of being really disturbing at some times and kind of funny at others. There are only too many series that I've actually watched that I think have been really good at pulling that off. One of them that comes to mind is Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and I think this one is kind of going for the same thing, but it's not shying away from the intensity of anything. I mean, the amount of violence and ridiculousness in this episode is insane. Nezuko manages to be horrifying and cute all at the same time. I'm not quite sure how they pull it off, and they're doing a great job of showing that she's sort of like battling between being a human and being a demon at the same time. When they run into that demon in the beginning of the episode, she sees these bodies in front of her that have just been slaughtered, and you can see that there's like drool coming out from under the piece of bamboo that she's biting down on as she's fighting back to not want to have to feast on these people, but eventually fighting back against this demon. That head kick scene, one of the best things that I've seen in a long time. So incredibly satisfying and insanely shocking. But to know that these demons can actually sort of like regrow their limbs and everything shows that they might have some regenerating capabilities. I don't know if that guy could have actually regrown his entire body or not, but to see him come back with a giant pair of beefy arms attacking Tanjiro was really shocking and insane. Like I said, it totally reminded me of watching like The Evil Dead. It kind of had that very same vibe, and it gets me really amped to see what sort of other demons and abilities that we're actually going to be able to see in the show. But this episode ultimately was showing that Tanjiro is going to have to change if he's going to follow through with his mission. He's a character that's very empathetic, and I think that's what's going to make him an important character, and probably, you know, he's going to change a lot of the thought processes of all these other demon slayers when they see that there's a character who can actually have sympathy for these demons. It could even maybe even bring about a peace between these two different groups, and could very well change the foundations of how this world works. But he is going to have to become more hardened if he's going to be able to go through all this stuff, and while he certainly has a sense of smell about things, he's going to have to get physically stronger if he's going to want to be able to fight back against all of these demons. The intro indicates that it looks like he's probably going to get like a sword, a katana for his main weapon, but a part of me still wants him to actually use that axe. Like, I still want him to like make that like one of his signature weapons. They might get rid of it though, but still, I can't wait to see what sort of training that Sakonji is going to put him through. And like I said, the character of Sakonji is just really awesome. There's this mysterious air about him, which is very classic of those type of characters, the martial arts master, the Obi-Wan Kenobi, if you will. And like I said, him being voiced by Hoichiro Otsuka, I think is just really freaking cool. I've loved almost every single role that he's been in, and he always just excels at playing those type of characters. There's probably a reason why they got him for this role. I can't wait to see what sort of powers he's going to have as well, and why he decided to bring in this character. Maybe he sees a lot of himself in him, mostly for the fact that he also seems to have like a very keen sense of smell. Maybe something very similar happened to him as well, and it's obvious that he seems to have some sort of great relationship with the character of Giyu Tomioka, who, again, I think they're going to be turning into one of the more, like, big characters of the show, not revealing too much, but still keeping the hype alive in the background. But really, though, this was just an action-packed, super atmospheric, and amazing episode of the series. It gets my highest recommendation. I think this might be my favorite show of the season. I am just digging it, and I'd really love to get your thoughts about it, but my score for this episode is a 5 out of 5. Pure entertainment value, smile on my face from beginning to end. This is a show I can't wait to watch every single week, but I'd love to get your thoughts on this episode. What did you think about Tanjiro's very first battle against a proper demon? Do you like the brand new character of Sakonji Urokodaki? What do you hope to see from his training in the future of this series? Tell me all your thoughts about this episode and hopes for the future in the comment section below. Thank you all for watching this review. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay down, baby.